Thousands of Valencia CF supporters flood the streets outside Mestalla Stadium, waving yellow placards that read "Lim, go home." Their chants echo through the city, all aimed at one man, Peter Lim, the club's billionaire owner. In recent years, fans have protested in every way imaginable, from boycotting matches and leaving seats empty to traveling across the world to demonstrate outside his home. The message is clear: they want him out. And yet just a decade ago, these same fans welcomed Peter Lim as a savior who would rescue Valencia from the brink of ruin. Today, many of them blame the Singaporean billionaire for destroying the club they love. This is the story of how hope turned into anger and how one owner's reign brought Valencia CF to its knees. To understand the bitterness in Valencia, we must first remember what this club meant. In the early 2000s, Valencia CF was on top of the world. They reached back-to-back Champions League finals in 2000 and 2001, won La Liga titles in 2002 and 2004, and even lifted the UEFA Cup in the same year. In 2004, statistics showed Valencia was one of the best teams in the world. The Mestalla, Valencia's home ground, was a cauldron of passion and pride, feared by visiting teams and cherished by locals. This was a club of passion, talent, and a winning culture. But more than trophies, Valencia CF was, and still is, the beating heart of the city's working class. It was founded by locals, built by the sweat and loyalty of generations, and woven into the daily life of the people. In a city often overlooked by Spain's political and economic centers, Valencia CF became a symbol of pride, identity, and resistance. By the early 2010s, Valencia's fortunes had dramatically reversed. Years of overambitious spending and financial mismanagement left the club drowning in debt. In 2007, construction began on a grand new 75,000-seat stadium, the new Mestalla, only for work to halt in 2009 when money ran out. Valencia was stuck with two stadiums, one half-built and ghostly, the other the old Mestalla aging and unsold, and no funds to resolve the situation. Chaos consumed the boardroom as well. At one point, a former Valencia president, Vicente Soriano, was accused of trying to kidnap his successor, Juan Bautista Soler. Soriano allegedly hired a hitman to abduct Soler and force him to sign over his shares in the club. The motive was a bitter financial feud. Soriano, deep in debt and taken to court by Soler, allegedly plotted to regain control of Valencia by any means necessary. Police uncovered the plot before it could happen, and Soriano was arrested. Technically, the club's best players were sold off one by one to stay afloat. David Villa, David Silva, Juan Mata, Jordi Alba, Roberto Soldado, the list went on. By 2014, Valencia was a giant in crisis, lurching from one desperate measure to another, an institution that was on the verge of collapse. Valencia's debt had become so severe that a Spanish bank, Bankia, effectively controlled the club, seeking a buyer to take the problem off its hands. Fans were anxious and exhausted by false dawns and broken promises. They needed a hero, and in 2014, one appeared to arrive from the most unlikely place, Singapore. In October 2014, Peter Lim touched down in Valencia to a hero's welcome. The son of a fishmonger and a self-made billionaire, Lim had built his fortune as a stockbroker turned investor in Asia. He wasn't a Spaniard, nor did he have an obvious connection to the club, but he brought something Valencia desperately needed: cash and hope. Through his Hong Kong-based investment company, Meriton Holdings, Lim agreed to buy a 70% stake in Valencia for around 94 million euros, also shouldering loans and debts as part of the deal. For a support base watching their club inch toward bankruptcy, this felt like salvation. Lim was the first foreign owner in Valencia's history, and fans optimistically believed he could do what local owners could not: restore Valencia to glory. At first, it seemed their faith was justified. Lim wasted no time making bold changes. He insisted on hiring Portuguese coach Nuno Espírito Santo even before the takeover was finalized. The move raised eyebrows. Nuno was a relatively young coach and, notably, a client of super agent Jorge Mendes, who happened to be a close friend and business partner of Lim. But early results quieted skeptics. In the 2014-15 season, Nuno's first in charge, March, Valencia finished 4th in La Liga, earning a coveted Champions League spot with an impressive 77 points. The fans at Mestalla were singing again. The club was back in Europe's top competition, a swift turnaround from the dark days of insolvency. Behind the scenes, however, subtle warning signs began to emerge even during that honeymoon period. Lim's close relationship with agent Mendes led to a pipeline of Mendes-associated players arriving at Valencia, and whispers grew that the club was being used as a trading post for the agent's interests. In summer 2015, Valencia's popular executive president, Amadeo Salvo, the very man who had orchestrated Lim's takeover, abruptly resigned. Officially, Salvo cited personal reasons, but many knew he had clashed with Lim's inner circle, notably Mendes and coach Nuno, in a power struggle. The 2015-16 season turned chaotic. After a poor start to the campaign, Nuno resigned in late 2015, and Peter Lim made a headline-grabbing but ultimately disastrous choice for his replacement. He appointed his friend, former Manchester United player Gary Neville, as Valencia's head coach, despite Neville having no prior managerial experience. What followed was a fiasco almost too extreme for fiction. Under Neville, Valencia went winless in his first 9 league games and won only 3 out of 16 matches, the worst win rate of any Valencia manager in La Liga history. By March 2016, less than 4 months into the job, Neville was sacked and Valencia limped to a 12th place finish that season. Over the next year, Valencia burned through coach after coach. Paco Ayestaran, Neville's assistant, took over briefly and was sacked after 4 straight losses. Next came the experienced Italian Cesare Prandelli, who quit after just 3 months when promised signings didn't materialize. Valencia's sporting director Jesus Garcia Pitarch resigned as well, complaining he was being used as a shield for the ownership's mistakes. By early 2017, Valencia had sunk near the relegation zone, unthinkable for a club of its stature. But just as protests began to grow, a surprising twist offered one last glimpse of hope. In 2017, Valencia finally found stability. Peter Lim appointed Matteo Alemany as sporting director and Marcelino as head coach, a duo that quickly revived the club. In just 2 seasons, Valencia finished 4th in La Liga twice, reached the Europa League semi-finals, and in 2019 stunned Barcelona to win the Copa del Rey, their first trophy in over a decade. Fans celebrated a long-awaited comeback, and for a moment it seemed Lim's reign might finally be vindicated, but that hope didn't last. Just months after lifting the cup, Lim sacked both Alemany and Marcelino, reportedly over disagreements about transfers, and because Marcelino dared to suggest the cup win wasn't part of Lim's original plan. The fallout was explosive. Fans and journalists alike saw it as the moment Lim betrayed the club's revival. Valencia had traded a winning project for another power struggle. In the years that followed, Valencia cycled through coach after coach, all gone within months. Promises were broken, transfer budgets slashed, and the team's spine was sold off. Parejo and Coquelin were offloaded for almost nothing, and Ferran Torres was sold far below market value. By 2020, the club had lost 323 million euros under Lim's ownership, couldn't pay wages on time, and was fielding a squad of bargain buys and untested youth. The result? A team that once challenged for titles now battled to avoid relegation, while fans watched their club become a shadow of its former self. As Valencia's performances declined and chaos mounted off the pitch, the relationship between Peter Lim and the fans completely collapsed. What began as frustration became full-scale revolt. Supporters united under movements like Libertad VCF, demanding Lim sell the club. Mestalla echoed weekly with chants of Lim go home, while banners, walkouts, and protests became part of matchday tradition. Then came the moment that symbolized it all. In July 2020, amid another losing streak, Lim's daughter Kim Lim took to Instagram to hit back at the criticism her family was receiving. What she posted instantly became notorious in Valencia. "Some Valencia fans are scolding and cursing at my family and I," Kim wrote. "Don't they get it? The club is ours, and we can do anything we want with it, and no one can say anything." The message, which was later deleted, landed like a punch to the gut of Valencianistas. Outrage followed. The quote became a rallying cry for protests and graffiti. Lim himself didn't help. In a rare 2021 interview, he called Valencia a trophy asset that was great for networking. For a club founded in 1919 and built by generations of working-class fans, this felt like a slap in the face. In 2022, club president Anil Murthy was forced to resign after being caught on tape making derogatory remarks about players, fans, and local politicians. A scandal that many thought would push Peter Lim to bring in fresh leadership to repair the damage. Instead, he installed his longtime associate Lei Hoon Chan back as president and even appointed his own son to the board of directors. To fans, this was nepotism and cronyism over competence, more insulation of the owner from accountability. By 2023, the situation hit rock bottom. Under coach Gennaro Gattuso, Valencia started the season with promise but collapsed by mid-season. Gattuso left after clashing with Lim over transfers. The team plunged into the relegation zone and panic set in. In February 2023, fan groups staged a powerful protest. They refused to enter Mestalla until the 19th minute, a symbolic nod to the club's founding in 1919. When they finally filed in, the chants were deafening. Lim, go home. The crisis even reached Singapore. A Spanish couple traveled to the city-state and staged a protest outside Peter Lim's private residence and in public areas. Within minutes, local police detained them, confiscated their materials, and temporarily barred them from leaving the country while investigations took place. The incident sparked a diplomatic stir, received widespread media coverage in Spain, and even forced Valencia CF to issue a carefully worded public statement acknowledging the situation. As of the last season, Valencia, once a giant of European football, was battling at the bottom of La Liga with just one win in 10 games. A club that had once taken down Real Madrid and Barcelona was now fighting just to survive, eventually finishing 12th. Now, to be fair, not everything can be blamed on Peter Lim. Valencia was already in financial freefall when he arrived. He cleared significant debts, kept the club afloat, and oversaw a few successful seasons. He also managed to revive funding for the long-abandoned new Mestalla stadium, with construction now back underway after years of delays. Still, Lim has made it clear he has no intention of selling the club, and for many fans, that's the problem. The chants of Lim go home still echo through the Mestalla louder than ever. Could things turn around? Maybe. PSG's owner Nasser Al-Khelaifi also spent over a decade and more than $2 billion before finally lifting the Champions League. But whether Peter Lim is truly ready to rebuild, Valencia's future remains to be seen.